Hello from Long Beach, California. It is 4:44 p.m. All is well and you are protected. I mean, what can you do after that, right? I mean, can you second guess your reality at that point? When, I don't know, where you see that number? When you see the signs, when you're being told by the divine, hey, we got you. And I get thousands of them. Why would I deny that? This is an IMAX movie that we're playing, that we generate from within, and it appears that it's being played in the outside. But when you think about your ocular system is within you, so you're really experiencing everything within. This is the kind of stuff that amazes me about our reality. Earlier I went for a walk and I was reminded of the, you know, that the energy around us, around me, you know. I don't know if you ever noticed that you can see light particles. You can see the stuff that this reality is made of. And yes, it is a matrix. It is a matrix of hexagonal shapes created by all these fleeting light particles. They look like a bunch of bees, you know, full of light. I mean, like, what of that? What of the discrepancies you see, the the disturbances in the force that you feel? What of that? The fact that you can think of somebody and that somebody calls you all of a sudden. The fact that we are all connected. More and more the idea of our reality, that we're all living in an individual reality, because you can't think or feel what I'm thinking or feeling, and I can't feel what you're thinking and feeling. These realities that we're living, they're individual. Everything is relative. You've heard that before. And I debate with myself my use or my usefulness in this reality, in this existence that I have. But like I mentioned before, if I find out about truths about something, I can't keep it to myself. Meaning that if it's gonna help you, I'm gonna let you know. And if you're anything like me, then this will matter to you. I really believe that, first of all, that our human history is a rich history. We go back more than 5,000 years, obviously. I mean, by now you already know that. But to know how rich our history is, it's quite uplifting. But to also know that it's been tarnished and held back by dark forces, dark entities that don't want us to get a sense of ourselves. Don't want us to know that we can create, that we're living our own realities. This is why they always tell us, oh no, there's only one reality. And if you're not willing to, get down with that idea, then you're crazy. That if you have an imagination, you're crazy. That whatever changes you're having, especially when you're somebody of 49 years old, oh, dude, you're just having midlife crisis. But what if maybe it is my spirit reminding me that, hey, you're up there in age and you still haven't accomplished your mission. You're still not doing what you were meant to do, and this is what the struggle is that the physical is telling you one thing because it's full of information letting you know that, hey, you should be right here if you're such and such, and you should be doing this if you're such and such, and if you're not buying this toothpaste, girls ain't gonna do you, like Marilyn Manson used to say, in that interview. It's everybody gets a glimpse of it. This is why, a lot of people will go, oh, that guy, yeah, I listen to that guy because he's really smart, but we're all the same. We're just, a lot of us separately, we're getting glimpses of the truth, so this is why I'm telling you, because I know you probably contemplated these things, you have had glimpses of these ideas. I can't be the only one, because we're all God's children, and we're all awakening. And no, it's not a midlife crisis. It's the fact that the spirit says one thing and the physical says another. And that's where the struggle is. That's where the confusion comes, because, hey, wait, should I listen to these people? It is overwhelming. You have so many people telling you the same thing because they have sold themselves to the idea that that's the way it is. But what if it's not? Because, when you think about it, since you're witnessing everything from within, and if you really look into the prayer of Our Father, it's all there. But it's been tweaked a little bit. So again, we lose power. We find ourselves as just one speck in the universe instead of the creators of it, the vehicle in which all the universe manifests itself. For the longest time, or ever since I moved to this neighborhood, because I jumped in. What happened to me is that what is commonly known as jumping off of the pan to end up in the fire. See, the Cain and Abel story repeats in my family. I have had many nasty people in my family that have made it really difficult on all members of my family. My grandpa, for instance. My grandmother was a horrible person that made my grandfather, a very, very sweet man, seem like he was the bad guy. And, the whole narcissistic game, where they go into a tarnishing of a reputation, they go into this campaign of tarnishing somebody's reputation, and then all of a sudden everybody starts to see that person with the same eyes, with the same idea. Oh, you're a bad person. Yeah, I heard this lady told us, your wife told us, your ex-wife. I have been in the same situation. My own father did that to me on a smearing campaign. My brother, my ex, because you shake up their whole system, because you contradict their rule and authority, so they gotta take you out. A lot of people ended up believing that I was a bad person. Well, that's just a microcosm of what happens in the macro and the big picture, that the story of Jesus can be also tarnished. Instead of bringing salvation to us by letting us know the good news, no, instead, it's because he died for you, because you're a sinner. And then all of a sudden, all of us stop being God's children and just sinners. What is that? When we're literally the creators of our own reality. That's what I'm referring to. That all these things that seemed like midlife crisis or what do they call it? Tinnitus, whatever, when you hear ringing in your ears, or your imagination. Oh, you're just crazy. You're imagining things. What's wrong with imagining things? All things were invented by way of imagination. Oh, you probably had a dream. You dream about it or something. It was a dream you had or something. A nightmare, really. But even things like the song Yesterday was invented, and it came about in a dream. I mean, for scientific formulas that have helped humanity have come through dreams. Mozart music can actually be healing. Bees, the buzzing of bees is actually very healing, and shapes matter. Those hexagonal shapes are not made because the bees are sitting there, like, construction workers, just putting it together. Oh, why hexagons? Oh, just because. Is their buzzing that creates those shapes. And it literally shapes that whole beehive structure. That a dog or a cat or a wolf or a whale or whatever living thing. Oh my God! Look at how smart they are. Aren't they smart? Like, we're at the top of the food chain in regards of intelligence. Of course they're smart. I cannot stand when people put themselves in that nice little high pedestal saying, "Oh, look at this dog! He's so smart." Of course they're smart. They're just communicating in a way that you don't understand. I know that my dog understands when I'm talking to him. But half the time I don't understand what he's telling me. So who's the moron here? That our living creatures out there, our fauna and flora, they have a way of communicating that we don't understand. So who's the smart one here? That an elephant, I mean, you've seen them in action. And all we do is say, "Oh, look how smart they are." Of course they're smart. They're communicating in a way we just barely understand, but that doesn't mean that they're the morons. I'm sorry for saying moron. But it's just, it's for us to think that we're the most intelligent beings here on this planet. It's ridiculous. Because obviously bees know what they're doing. And they're creating a vibrational frequency where they're doing what they do. That a howl from a wolf means something. A fly from a hawk means something. That cats are spiritual guardians. That they will literally fight it off with a spirit that is trying to harm you. And yet we see them on the street. Here in Long Beach, there's so many poor little cats in the street. And maybe that's what they want. I mean, because, they like to be free, But, here in the United States, we put down dogs because there's just too many to feed or to keep, or we're just going to kill them. Which absolutely makes no sense. But dogs can literally not only protect you, but can foretell what's going to happen seconds before it happens. They can sense these things. They can sense earthquakes. They can hear from miles away. They can see things that you cannot. That's what I'm referring to. That these abilities that we have, sometimes we just give it up to what a professional's opinion has to say about it. Like somebody all of a sudden is like, "What have I been doing with my life?" Oh, you're having a midlife crisis. And maybe it is just because it is a spiritual call. That, oh, you're hearing high-pitched noises tones out of your ear. Oh yeah, you have tinnitus or something. We need to get you checked out. Oh yeah, it comes with age. But maybe it's just divine intelligence trying to communicate with you. I mean, it is at a high-pitched frequency. So ever since, I went from basically I was running away from living with my brother because the guy wanted to pick up a fight with me. And I'm as a martial artist, I could literally destroy the dude. But why would I do that to my own brother? But he didn't feel the same way. He was thinking, if we're gonna fight, I'm gonna hurt you. But I didn't want to hurt my brother. I didn't want to have to, put my niece and my nephew through that. So I left. I'm like, no. I mean, how can... My father and my uncle ended up fighting in the street in front of us. And I still remember it. And the whole time I was thinking, how come my dad is fighting his brother? Sitting in the middle, duking it out in the middle of the street, my grandmother was having a hard time. This is why I left home the first time when I was 18, because my dad literally got in my face and he's like, well, okay, you want to punch me? Punch me. Oh, come on. And all I was doing is just stop calling me names. So now we're in the middle of the street. My mom is crying. My brother's going, these guys are going at it again. And I'm afraid that my little sisters have seen too much of it. So I left. So what did my father do? He went on a smearing campaign, convincing everybody in my family not to trust me, that I was a bad guy because I abandoned them. No, I walked away because everybody had seen enough of that toxicity. My own father challenging me to a fight. Same thing with my brother. He's literally shoulder checking me every time he walks by me. He literally almost locked me out one time. And he was always drinking, so he was, when he's drunk, he's doing all kind of awful things, convincing my niece that I was the bad guy, that they literally were tag teaming against me, like literally just abusing me in their home. I'm like, okay, so I guess I should just probably leave. So I got myself alone and I left, but I ended up jumping from the pan to the fire. And in fact, I ended up in a community full of my brothers, basically. They're like photocopies of my brother. Just a bunch of hateful guys who, who do you think you are? You think you're better than us? That type of guy. So ever since I moved to this neighborhood, I always feel this discrepancy. Every time I walk outside, I feel this sense of fear. And it's not that I'm afraid, that's not it. Because again, when you're in the jungle, you cannot show any fear because, they come after you, they will pounce on you. But that's not even it. It's the fact that I'm picking up the energy around me. So what of that? If a wolf can sense, if a dog can sense, a cat can sense, a whale can sense, a bee can sense. A bee senses your intentions, your feelings. The bee is picking it up. This is why they end up stinging. Because we're acting out of fear. Oh, bee! And what of that? Why? The fame of a bee is that they're just going to sting you. When if you remain completely peaceful and just admire what they're doing, you could have a whole bunch of them on you and they will never sting you. What of that? Because it's a vibrational existence. We're picking up each other's vibrations. And when I step out of my home after, doing everything possible to raise my vibration, because that's what strength is. That's what real strength is. To be able to raise your vibration so you're strong enough to walk outside into the jungle, and being able to use that as a shield. But also, it gives you these abilities where you can sense like any animal on this planet. Sense the energy around you. So every time I step out of this, this home, out of my apartment to walk my dog, because I've heard before that, hey, walks can be peaceful. They can help you get peace. But it depends where you're walking. And when I walk around in my neighborhood, again, the moment I step out of the door, I get this fearful tension. It's all in the air. It's the vibe. And when I look around and I see a lot of poverty, a lot of shortages, a lot of lack, what is that but lack of spirit? Like I said in my last video, everybody seems dim, lightless. Their splendor is gone because Somebody's been telling us lies. The way our reality breaks down is not the way it has been prescribed to us, or the way we've been told. It's not just one single reality. We're literally walking miracles, living in a miracle full of miracles. I mean, when you consider the abilities that just the little critters have, like I mentioned, the wolf and, the dog, a cat, or a bee, a whale, an elephant, that each of their movements means something, that their behavior means something, their noises, their whines, their screeches, their barks, they mean something. So whenever we feel a certain something, it might not just be you. Maybe you're picking it up, because we're perceptive beings. We're spirits in the spirit, living a spiritual existence, but also we have become so overwhelmed with this human experience that we think that that's all there is. And wouldn't that be just a dream we're having? An IMAX movie we're playing? Where is information coming from? It's coming from us. And why is it playing what is playing? Because it's coming from us. The tapes are within. So if we are the creators of our own reality, and we don't like the reality we live in because it's telling us, you don't fit here, it doesn't click right, look how you're feeling. Like how when I step out of my apartment and I feel the discrepancy, I feel the distortion in the energy. I feel that the energy is toxic, because it gets me all nervous, it gets me all drained, it gets me all in a bad mood, it gets me really disturbed. There's a distortion in the force. I'm picking it up, because I was fine before I walked out, but once I step out of it, boom. And for the longest time, I was convinced by those around me, my father and my brother, they will always make comments. It's like, you're always making faces. You're always acting like, it's what we are is not good enough for you. But maybe it's not. And my senses are telling me, my spidey senses are telling me, you don't belong here. This is why I was able to create things for myself, like a career, like things that I was told that were impossible. I achieved them. And still, I got that from those two. You think you're all that. You think that things are not good enough for you. It's like, yeah, sometimes the environment is telling you, you don't click here, you don't click well here, move on. Or again, by me creating other things for myself, like a career, like I enter fields that these two guys only talked about and dreamed of. Oh, you have to know somebody. I achieved them. Then what of that? Because I generated them from within. It's like, yes, that's feasible. I can do that. I want to do that. Why? Because it'll make me feel good. Like Abraham Hicks points out a lot of the times. Why do I want to have that experience? Because ultimately it's going to make me feel good. That's why I want it. Like desire is a bad thing. No, it's literally saying, okay, I don't like this muddy pile of poop that I'm standing on. Oh, but over there seems really nice. I want to go over there. It's as simple as that. We are the creators of our own reality, and we've been told that, we've been shamed into accepting a load of crap, literally, instead of the things that we can create for ourselves. There's poverty in the world because of that. And everybody points fingers at each other that, oh, you're responsible, you have too much, you should give it to which right now with the fires in California, all of these people are just hating on all these people that are losing their homes because they have money, because they live in rich neighborhoods. Not everybody who is rich is a bad person. They just expect more for themselves, for them. You know, again, they were standing on a pile of shit and they said, oh, over there is better. So they moved over there by way of wanting more. I'm not saying that a lot of them, you know, that in this existence people don't get rich by doing bad things. Of course there are those cases. But it's as simple as this. You're going to find out that when you see, for instance, a celebrity achieve a certain level, their children sometimes they cannot achieve it after they're gone. And I find that out in a lot of these Mexican movie stars, you know, from the 1950s and things like that, you know, where their heirs, their children, their families weren't able to keep the fortune that person generated. Now, why is that? Because they're not thinking along the same lines. The person who generated that fortune, that stardom, for instance, that fame and fortune, let's say, for instance, Cantinflas or Pedro Infante, you know, people who were, you know, stars of entertainment back in the 50s. And I say that because those are clear examples. If you know about them, you know that their children weren't able to keep that fortune, that fame, that stardom, but especially the money. They weren't able to keep it. In fact, they're still fighting each other for it. Why? Because they weren't thinking along the same lines. They weren't living that person's reality. So once that person was gone, the money left with them. What of that? Because we're all creators of our own reality. So I hope I beat this horse to death. Not literally, of course. But we keep hearing, you have to always consult with what that benevolent part within you is saying, instead of paying so much attention to the outside. Because again, the outside is only generated from what's within. And if the tapes are telling you the wrong story because they've been influenced by all those around you, then you're playing out the wrong movie for yourself. And if you want something better for yourself, you need to change the tapes. Think about it and feel about it.